They say this temple was built in a single day, not brick by brick, but carved down through 120 feet of unbroken volcanic basalt. Imagine standing before a mountain, and instead of building on it, you decide to hollow it out from the top, like a sculptor cutting into a block of marble. Only the marble is bigger than most city blocks. They didn't stack stones here. They removed them. It wasn't assembled. It was revealed. This didn't happen in the Golden Age of Rome, not in the shadow of the pyramids, not under the watch of the Greek philosophers. It happened in India. And here's the thing. The world barely whispers its name. You can graduate from some of the best universities in the West and never once hear the words Kailasa Temple. No textbook calls it what it is. No classroom dares linger on it. And here's the part that should make you uneasy. This temple, one of the most ambitious feats of architecture in all human history, has no architect recorded, no clear blueprint, no signature. It is an orphan masterpiece. It's as if one morning it simply appeared, and history politely walked right past it. But what if I told you that the temple's story doesn't just challenge the limits of stone, skill, and time? It challenges what we think ancient civilizations were even capable of. Because when we start digging beneath the surface, what we find isn't just a monument carved from a mountain. It's a battle for memory itself, a story erased, forgotten, and now, finally, resurfacing. And once you hear the details, you'll never look at history the same way again. They say numbers don't lie, but the numbers around Kailasa Temple feel like they belong in a fantasy novel. Kailasa, also called Cave 16 of the Ellora Caves, wasn't built the way humans usually build things. It wasn't layered, like the pyramids. It wasn't assembled like the Parthenon. It was carved downward, straight into the heart of the mountain, starting from the very top. Let me repeat that, because it's the detail that will break your brain. They began at the peak of the rock and carved their way down. That's the architectural equivalent of painting a massive mural, without stepping back to look at it until it's done. No scaffolding, no aerial drones, no computer models. Every cut had to be perfect the first time, because you can't add back rock you've carved away. And carved away they did. By conservative estimates, somewhere between 200,000 and 400,000 tons of volcanic basalt had to be removed. To put that in perspective, imagine hauling away the weight of the Empire State Building twice, with no cranes, no explosives, just iron chisels, hammers, and wooden wedges. Now, here's where it gets even stranger. Local legend claims it was finished in 7 days. That's not a construction schedule. That's a Netflix binge. And even though archaeologists dismiss that as pure myth, it's not as wild as you might think. Because even their most conservative labor estimates are still one. Calculation suggests that if 250 highly skilled workers removed about 4 cubic feet of stone per day, the temple could be carved in around 5.5 years. 5.5 years for something that, if attempted today with modern machinery, would still be considered a miracle of planning and logistics. No breaks, no sick days, rain or shine, perfect symmetry on every pillar, hall, and sculpture. And here's the kicker. They didn't make a single catastrophic mistake, not one pillar off center, not one staircase ending in the wrong place. Think about that, because in subtractive architecture, there are no do-overs. One miscalculation, and you've ruined the entire project. This is where modern architects get uncomfortable. We know how hard it is to do this now. So how did they do it then? The only answer that makes sense. They had a master plan, a vision so complete and precise that it could be executed blind, from the top down, without hesitation. But here's the mystery. We don't have that plan. No sketches, no written measurements, nothing. It's like walking into the Sistine Chapel, marveling at the ceiling, and realizing there's no preparatory art anywhere in the archives. So the question becomes, who held the plan? And why did they take it with them? Because without that plan, all we have left are the walls and the silence they keep. History gives us names, but sometimes they're just placeholders for bigger mysteries. Most scholars agree the Kailasa Temple is attributed to Krishna I, ruler of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, sometime between 756 and 773 CE. We know this from two copperplate grants, one found in Vadodara, another in Kadaba, both boasting of a temple so astonishing that even the gods were humbled. That's not poetic exaggeration. In ancient royal records, flattery was common, but that level of praise, it was reserved for miracles. And yet, inside Kailasa Temple itself, there was silence. No inscription proudly proclaiming, "I, King Krishna, built this temple." No carved seal of the dynasty. No names of architects or sculptors. It's as if the builders didn't want or weren't allowed to leave their mark. Some historians, like M.K. Davalekar, have tried to piece the puzzle together. After the Rashtrakutas defeated the Chalukyas, he believes they brought in Chalukya and Pallava, artisans masters of two of southern India's greatest architectural traditions. This would explain the curious mix of styles: Dravidian shikaras, Chalukyan-style pillars, and the refined flourishes of the Pallavas. But here's the thing: the fusion is seamless. It doesn't feel like the work of rival guilds stitched together. It feels like the vision of a single mind. And yet, that mind, still nameless, that's not the only gap. We also have no surviving engineering plan, no record of measurements, no diagrams showing the excavation sequence, no trial carvings anywhere nearby. That's like finding a spaceship with no design files, no blueprints, no prototypes. It makes you wonder, who held the knowledge? And why? Did it vanish the moment the temple was done? Or maybe it wasn't meant to survive? Ask the locals though, and they'll give you a name: Kaka. According to the 15th century text Kathak Opataru, Kakasa was a master architect from Pathan, summoned by a queen on her deathbed for wish to see a temple built for Lord Shiva before she passed away. Faced with the impossible, Kakasa took a gamble that would become legend. He began carving from the top, starting with the shikara, the final spire, just so the queen could see progress from her window. And from there, the story claims, the entire temple was completed in 7 days. Now, historians scoff at the timeline. They call it a myth, but myths don't grow in barren soil. For a legend like this to survive centuries, something extraordinary must have happened. And perhaps it wasn't 7 days, but it felt like a miracle to the people who saw it. Imagine being a villager watching your mountain transform into a palace of gods before your eyes. Imagine the sound of chisels striking stone day and night, echoing through the valley like a drumbeat of devotion. No wonder people told their children it was done in a week. Modern engineers still puzzle over some of Kakasa's alleged feats. The Nandi shrine in the courtyard is aligned perfectly with the main sanctum, despite there being no vantage point to see both during carving. This wasn't guesswork, it was divine geometry. And if Kakasa was real, he wasn't just an architect. He was a geometer, an engineer, and perhaps a keeper of knowledge we've since forgotten. And that brings us to the detail that disturbs historians the most. If hundreds of thousands of tons of stone were removed, where is it? You'd expect a dumping ground, a slope of rubble outside the cave complex, evidence of transport. But there's nothing, not a single massive pile of discarded basalt. That's like someone telling you they dug a subway under your city, and you can't find a single truckload of dirt. Where did it go? Was it recycled into other structures, dumped into a river, or was it removed so cleanly, so strategically, that it left no trace? And here's another silence, perhaps more haunting. Outside of India, no one talks about Kailasa. It's absent from Arab Odyssey, absent from Chinese pilgrim record, absent from European accounts until modern times. That's not oversight, that's omission. And omission is far more dangerous than a lie, because lies can be disproven. Omission erases existence. So what's in the carvings that survived? Walk the temple grounds, and you'll see more than just scenes from Hindu epics. You'll see Shaivite deities, Vaishnavite avatars, Jain symbols, celestial maps, cosmic animals, and processions frozen in stone. This isn't a single religion's claim. It's a coded message. Some scholars believe the temple is a 3D mandala, a cosmic diagram designed to mirror the universe itself. Its orientation, symmetry, and tiered structure suggest a deliberate attempt to recreate Mount Kailash, the mythic abode of Lord Shiva, right here on Earth. And if that's true, Kailasa wasn't carved for worship alone. It was carved to be a bridge, a portal. But here's the tragedy. Despite its scale, despite its beauty, despite its mystery, Kailasa was never finished. Look closely at its inner chambers, and you'll find rough stone walls where smooth carvings should be, corridors that lead nowhere, pillars without ornamentation, parts of the temple freeze mid-creation, as if the sculptors simply stopped. Why? Was it a change in royal priorities? A sudden war? The death of its patron king? Or was the knowledge needed to finish it lost overnight? We don't know. What we do know is this: the people who began it never saw it completed. They gave it shape, but not its final breath. And no one since has dared or been able to finish the work. This is the kind of unfinished beauty that carries a strange weight. It's like an abandoned symphony where the final notes remain unplayed, forever echoing in the mind of the listener. A genius work without a legacy. Until now. Because now you know, and when you know, you can't unknow. So why bury the story of Kailasa? Because it doesn't fit the narrative. It challenges the comfortable linear history we've been taught, that great architecture peaked in the West, and that the rest of the world merely followed. It challenges the myth of the primitive past. It whispers, maybe we were more advanced than you think. And that's dangerous. Because if a civilization could do this more than 1,200 years ago, with nothing but hand tools, then what else have we underestimated? What else lies beneath the soil, the sand, the waves, waiting to break history open? Kailasa Temple isn't just a wonder of stone. It's a reminder that greatness isn't the property of one nation, one empire, one culture. It's proof that vision, devotion, and precision can outlast time itself. It's a challenge to every one of us. What mountain will you move? What story will you carve into the world? If a temple could be carved from a mountain, in silence, imagine what else could be hiding beneath layers of earth, war, and time. There's another story, buried even deeper, of a tower so tall, they said it could reach the heavens themselves, until war brought it down, and history scattered its memory into myth. Click here to watch the tower that reached the heavens. The erased story of Edamananki, the real Tower of Babel. If Kailasa makes you question what we can do with stone, that tower will make you question what we can do with the sky.